Out of the blue one day, Steve informed me that he wanted to train for the Iditarod. Really? We live in Virginia. But he was so determined that on Christmas Day, he began training with our 3 small dogs, embarrassing the entire family. And suddenly, when Tatiana wanted a puppy, he brought home a Siberian husky. We named him Romeo, and he quickly became the center of our family. And he also became the center of Steve's life. Mushing was his passion. He sewed harnesses for Romeo. And he even designed and sewed him a cute little mushing t-shirt. Romeo was so happy. The whole family was pretty happy. Then Steve decided he needed a team of Siberian Huskies, so he brought home Maxi. Nobody liked Maxi, especially Romeo. They were always fighting, so when they were in the backyard, I would go ask Hans to go out and babysit them. The neighbors used to marvel at their beauty. They didn't have to live with them like I did. Tatiana loved the puppies until they chewed up her favorite stuffed animals. She did try to take care of them and took them for a walk once. But Steve was the happiest person I knew. He went as far as to cook for all of the dogs every frickin' night. He never cooked for the humans in the family. And when I cooked dinner for Hans and Hunter, they would just take pieces of food and throw it to the dogs. I would have to clean it up. But Steve had his team of huskies. When they weren't mushing or pretending to mush, they would play in the backyard and they were happy. And then they chewed up all of my furniture, so I sent them downstairs to the basement to live. And finally, now I was happy. In fact, the whole family was really happy. But then Steve crossed the line. He brought home a 3rd husky named Brody. Nobody liked Brody. The dogs all started fighting. Steve and I started fighting. Steve spent all of his time with the huskies, feeding them in the morning, feeding them at night, feeding them in the afternoon, feeding them in the middle of the night, taking them to the vet, getting them their shots, getting them their pills, giving them their pills, making harnesses, making cages, putting them in the truck, putting the dogs in the truck, putting the dogs in the cages, making sleds, making scooters. It was frickin' nonstop. He spent no time with me or the kids. And not surprisingly, the dogs could tell I was super jealous. Steve would take the dogs out for hours, pretending he was mushing the Iditarod. Really? Northern Virginia? No snow? 3 dogs? I just didn't get it. I didn't want to get it. In the winter, it was a lot worse. He would get up early and harness the dogs. They'd go out mushing for hours. They would take a picnic with them. They were so happy out there on their own. And they would come home late at night. We even went on vacation with the huskies. Steve wanted the family to learn how to mush. We went up to Lake Placid this year. I mean, it really was beautiful. But I think that Steve could have at least gotten a hotel room for the dogs instead of having them sleep with us. It was too much. But look at his face. Look at that ecstasy. I tried to get some attention from Steve by dressing like a husky. I thought he would love me more. That didn't work, so I tried to seduce him with his darkest fantasy. But Steve, all he did was fall asleep. He was so exhausted from mushing all day long. I was really pissed. I kept all the dogs downstairs where they belonged, or else in Steve's doghouse. They could keep Steve company. And when Steve did have time, all he wanted to do was play with his husky toys. Hunter embraced this husky fever, and I found Mushing magazine in our house. I got really, really depressed, started going to bars by myself. And then I started working out like a maniac, and then traveled to war zones looking for love. And although I didn't find any, I had time to take a really, really hard look at myself, and then suddenly it all clicked. I could pursue my own passion. I could use the dogs. I could start a photography career, which is what I've always wanted to do. I started out with portraits and then pet photography. I then moved on to weddings. I did commercial shoots for advertisements. And I did fashion shoots for Arctic clothing. For my portfolio, I took our family Christmas photo with all 6 dogs. So in the end, Steve and I made it work. Sort of.